Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. I did a little bit of a YouTube communities post the other day to see what type of motherboard you guys wanted to see, and the overwhelming result, hands down, was B650. So that's what we're doing today. We're taking a look at the MSI B650M Mortar Wi-Fi. It's this little MATX board that supports Ryzen 7000 CPUs. But as usual with our motherboard content, these videos are not reviews. They're just overviews so we can take a bit of a look at what's in the box with this board, and spoiler alert, there ain't much, and all the stuff that is on this board and all the features. So without further ado, let's take a look at this little MATX board from MSI. Let's jump in. Alright ladies and gents, here it is, the MSI MAG B650M Mortar Wi-Fi. It's a motherboard that supports Ryzen 7000 CPUs, but first of all, need to get that motherboard out of the box so we can take a bit of a closer look at all of the things that come with this board. You ready? Let's take a look. First up, we've got some dipole Wi-Fi antennas for the built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth that comes with this board. There's also a bunch of documentation. You've got a quick installation guide, which will basically just show you how to socket a CPU if you've never done it before, how to install RAM, and just regular documentation. There's also some of these spare M.2 clips because motherboard M.2 screws are kind of getting phased out in place of these new clips. There's also a set of stickers. Now, usually I would bag these stickers out, but these ones are actually kind of useful because you can use them to label your cables, right? Isn't that a nice little thing? There's also a set of SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives. We call them SATA cables here in Australia, ladies and gents. And last but not least, let's unsheath the B650M Mortar Wi-Fi from MSI so we can take a bit of a closer look at all of the features on the board. First up, we've got the front panel audio header. There's a 4-pin analog RGB header, that's a 12-volt one. There's a bunch of other headers here that you may or may not care about. It's for things that you probably won't use, but they're there. There's also a PWM fan header, 2 USB 2.0 headers for things like RGB controllers, liquid coolers, all that jazz. There is the front panel connectors for your lights and all your switches and all that jazz to let you know your system's online. There's also a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header behind that, and 2 SATA ports for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives. There's 4 more SATA ports for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives, a right-angled USB 3.2 header, a USB Type-C front panel header, the 24-pin power connector to send juice to your brand new B650M Mortar Wi-Fi. There's an LED array for postcode diagnosis and a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header. Now, if we look along the top edge of the board, we've got another 4-pin 12-volt analog RGB header, 3 more PWM fan headers for like your CPU fans and your AIOs and all that stuff, and 2 8-pin EPS power connectors to send juice to your Ryzen 7000 CPU. Now, if we take a look at the PCIe layout on this board, we've got 1 by 16 PCIe Gen 4 slot, 1 PCIe Gen 4 by 4 slot in a by 16 size, as well as a by 1 PCIe Gen 3 slot as well. So quite a bit of connectivity for an MATX board. Now, in terms of the VRM layout, we've got a 12+2+1 phase digital VRM setup. It's a duet rail system with 80 amp power stages, and as you can tell, the whole I/O cover is a heatsink for it. Now, this uses AMD's AM5 socket or LGA 1718, and it uses standard AM5 cooler mounting with some AM4 compatibility as well. Let's pop that socket open so we can take a bit of a look at what the socket looks like if you've never seen it before. As mentioned, this is AMD's new AM5 socket with 1718 contact pins for your CPU. Now, if we flip the board over and take a bit of a look here, there's not too much interesting going on back here. But as mentioned, with the socket backplate now, it only retains some partial AM4 socket cooler compatibility. The rule of thumb here is if your CPU cooler comes with a backplate, then it's not compatible, unless it's a backplate for AM3. As for the RAM, it's got 4 DDR5 RAM slots, which supports up to a total of 128 gigs of DDR5 memory at 6400 megatransfers with both XMP and AMD Expo supported. Alright, let's pull off the heatsinks to take a look at the storage situation here on the board. It has 2 M.2 slots, being they're both PCIe Gen 4 M.2 slots as well, so you'll get all of the speed from both of the slots. For rear I/O, we've got a BIOS flashback button, we've got a display port and an HDMI port because the CPUs here do have integrated graphics. There's 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, a whole stack of USB Type A, we've got USB Type C there as well, we've got the antenna connectors for the built-in Wi-Fi 6, and a 7.1 digital surround sound audio interface with optical and SPDIF output. Yes, MSI is doing it on their lower end boards, Gigabyte can't do it, as well as an integrated I/O shield. Hope you guys enjoyed the first look and overview of the MSI B650M Mortar Wi-Fi. Now, as with most Ryzen 7000 things and all the things related to new AMD stuff, the biggest thing going on right now is the pricing. Now, for this board in particular in Australia, it is quite expensive. I'll get to the price in a minute, but some of the things I've noticed with these new boards, well, especially all of these AM5 boards, is X670 and X670E might be almost pointless in a way, considering the feature set of all of these boards are actually quite close to each other, minus PCIe Gen 5 on the top PCIe slot for some of the lower end boards. And given what we know right at the time of filming this video, that might not even matter because all GPUs right now, as of filming this video, this could change very quickly, are all PCIe Gen 4, and we've seen that that's kind of the trend going forward for what we're gonna see, at least for this generation in particular. Now let's circle back to the price for the B650M Mortar Wi-Fi from MSI, because if you wanted to grab one of these boards for yourself, you're looking at spending around $239 US, or around about 400, right? You're hearing this right? 409 Aussie dollars at the time of filming this video for an MATX board. What? Especially going off the fact that it's a B board. Now, if you guys want a little bit of context, I bought a Z77 board, an Intel board. I think it was in the year that it came out. So I'm gonna say either 2012 or 2013, somewhere around there. I think 2012. I bought a top end board for 179 Aussie dollars. So this is 409 Aussie dollars. Crazy how things can change in just 10 years. Anyways, guys, yeah. If you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. It's available by clicking that join button down below. Make sure you get yourself subscribed because we do lots of motherboard videos. And if you're new here, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, click subscribe, click like, do all the things. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. What is that? What's the saying, Claire? What's the saying?
You peak.
You peak. What's the other bit?
I don't know.
We seek. We seek. Thanks for watching.